How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Down podcast, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. The Bears face the Minnesota Vikings tonight at home as COVID is breaking loose across the NFL. Today, we're going to be breaking down this game, which maybe or maybe not should be happening tonight, and also making our Week 15 picks in today's pregame show. Welcome back to the show, guys. I know it's been a minute. I apologize, but I would like to say our plan for these next couple of weeks is, we still want to talk about the Bears season a little bit, but we're going to be cranking up a lot of off-season content as we move forward. We got to get more consistent with it. It's on us. So if you want Bears off-season content and still hearing about the team this season, I guess, in sprinkles, do us a favor wherever you may be listening. Drop a like, subscribe, follow, and starting tomorrow, we're going to be bringing you guys more Bears content, hopefully each and every day. But we've got a game to talk about. I am your host, Chris Malpe, today to break it down. I am joined by my co-host, Parth Shaw. Parth, school is over. We're back in a spot where we can comfortably record. How are you doing? How have you been?
Doing pretty good. It's good to be off of school for a while. Be back in Chicago suburbs for the next 3 weeks. It's getting cold out. I hate how it gets dark by like 4 o'clock, 4:30 here. I do miss that Eastern time a little bit. When it's dark by 4, I'm already ready to go to bed and just not do anything for the rest of the day. The lack of motivation's been there, obviously. We haven't been recording as much. There has been much to record about. The Bears are obviously having one of their worst years in recent history, and at the same time, a lot of COVID stuff is happening, which is not helping the team either. So lots of negativity. But again, this game tonight should be a good one. Bears Vikings are always close games, so can't wait to talk more about this one.
Yeah, as worried as I am about this game tonight, COVID obviously is the main headline. So before we get into anything else, let's talk about this. The Bears currently have 14 players on the COVID-19 reserve list. I believe they could activate a couple of them today if they were to test negative twice, but I'm not sure what the likelihood of that happening is. So yesterday they added Jaylen Johnson and Tashawn Gibson. Also joining them alongside on the list is wide receiver one, Allen Robinson, backup quarterback Andy Dalton, starting safety Eddie Jackson, a cornerback who had been getting starts in recent weeks, Artie Burns, as well as other important role players, Ryan Nall, Isaiah Coulter, Jesse James, Larry Borum, Mario Edwards, Joel Iyubuniwe, Sam Kamara, and Duke Shelley. So Chicago is rolling into this game with 14 players on the COVID-19 reserve list. The Bears put in a request yesterday to the National Football League to possibly postpone the game like we've seen happen with other Week 15 games this week. There's a doubleheader on Monday night now and 2 games on Tuesday. The NFL, of course, in the Bears' luck, turned it down. So we are going to be playing tonight empty-handed, especially in the secondary, against the Vikings team coming in with Kirk Cousins on a hot streak, and Justin Jefferson is one of the top 3 receivers in the league, no doubt. So let's jump right into this, I guess. Let's start by talking about the Vikings and just taking a look at this game overall. The 6-7 Vikings, who are 2-5 on the road, are heading to Chicago tonight, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time, to face the Bears, who are 4-9, 2-4 at home at Soldier Field. ESPN's matchup predictor gives Minnesota a 63.6% chance to win this one, leaving the Bears with a 36.1% chance. The line on this game is -6.5 in favor of the Vikings. The Bears are 4-9 against the spread this year, but they're going to be 6.5 home dogs in this one. And then the over-under is listed at 45.5. Let's start with Minnesota's offense. They're coming off of an electric and almost a scary 36-28 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, also coming off that loss against the Detroit Lions. But let's start with them offensively, Parth. It's been a really good season for Kirk Cousins. I don't think you or I can sit up here and sugarcoat it. 319 for 477. He's passed for 3,569 yards, 27 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. A great season for him so far. Dalvin Cook on the ground, 198 carries, 978 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's been dealing with some injuries throughout the season, but still one of the better running backs in the league when healthy. And earlier, I mentioned Jefferson. I think he's absolutely going to traumatize the Bears secondary later. It's probably going to be Kindleville door on him. I really don't know if we're going to have Xavier Crawford back out there, but Jefferson's had a good season, 85 receptions, almost 1,300 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. Taking a look at some broken down stats for this Vikings offense, 26.5 points per game on average for them. They've also been averaging just over 400 yards per offense. Cousins has been averaging 277.2 passing yards per game, and they've been averaging about 125 per game on the ground. I promise I want to stop talking, but let's get to Minnesota's defense. They are allowing 25.6 points per game to opposing teams. The Bears are only putting up an average of 17.8 points per game, but are coming off of a pretty solid outing against the Packers, I guess you could say, where they put up 30 points. Minnesota's defense is allowing 274.2 yards through the air. I believe they're the 29th ranked secondary in the league. They're also allowing about 130 on the ground. So an opportunity for Justin Fields to excel tonight. You know, Danielle Hunter's going to be out for the Vikings, as well as Everson Griffin. But a pretty solid secondary still. Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler, Harrison Smith, Xavier Woods, Mackenzie Alexander, and Chris Boyd. And they also still have some solid pieces up front. They brought in Dalvin Tomlinson this year, Nick Vigil, Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. But Parth, I want to get back to you, man. The scope of this game has changed a lot because of COVID. You know, Chicago's secondary had already been struggling so much. Now missing Artie Burns, Jaylen Johnson, Eddie Jackson, Deshaun Gibson. And looking at the other side, I mean, obviously no Adam Thielen for the Vikings, but Justin Jefferson's been on a tear so far this season. So, you know, Chicago's lack of defense is probably going to end up being what bites them in the side in this one. But overall, what do you think about the Minnesota Vikings? Because taking a look at this game, if the Bears can somehow pull out a win here, they could basically burst the bubble of the Vikings in terms of playoff hopes.
Absolutely. Either this week or even week 17 when we play them again. But this Minnesota team has been up and down all year. I feel like they're one of the most inconsistent teams in the league. Offensively, they've had a really good year. Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. I think he's playing like a top 10 quarterback. You know, that interception to touchdown ratio is at 5-1, 5-1 for touchdowns, obviously. He's playing really well. And he has for the Vikings, I felt like. You know, the last couple of years when he has been in Minnesota, he's played pretty well for them, except against the Bears. The Bears have been able to shut Kirk down. And I feel like that can happen again. Even though we're missing a lot of guys on defense. Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league. Like Chris said, he missed a couple games, and he's still third in rushing yards. And then Justin Jefferson, I think he's second in receiving yards. So they got two really good offensive weapons in Jefferson and Cook. And you can't forget about KJ Osborne, who's someone who had a pretty good game against the Steelers last week. He's going to have a pretty big role this week with Thielen out. I thought Kirk looked at him a couple times last week, and they had a pretty good connection. So you got to watch out for him. And then I don't think they'll have Madison, so that's a good thing. Alexander Madison, their RB2, who can take off at times as well. Once again, COVID has a big impact on this game, especially for the Bears defense, who's going to have a tough task guarding Justin Jefferson, Tyler Conklin, their tight end, and KJ Osborne. Dalvin Cook is no easy guy to stop, especially with Roquan Smith questionable for the game. We definitely need him to play in order to stop Dalvin Cook, who, in my opinion, is the best running back in the league. We saw it last week against the Steelers. I think he had 200 yards.
Do you know who that guy, Jonathan Taylor, is by chance?
I
Up
think
in Indy, the place where you and I both go to school?
if Dalvin Cook is healthy, I think he is the best running back in the league.
Gotcha.
At least for the last 3 years. You know, what Jonathan Taylor's been doing this year has been amazing. I love watching him play. But Cook's been here for a couple years now and doing what he's been doing. So I'll give him credit for that. Again, this Vikings offense, like Chris said, is putting up 26 points per game, and their defense is also allowing 26 points per game. So you just got to score when you get the chance and make sure you stop that offense because they're able to drive that ball down the field pretty often.
Yeah, points are going to be at a premium in tonight's game. Not only is the over-under for the game listed as pretty low, but any chance the Bears defense will have to get off the field in this game, in my mind, is going to be absolutely vital. I mean, I like that you mentioned Tyler Conklin a lot because he's someone who Kirk Cousins likes to go to
Hmm.
in opportunities when someone else is down. Normally we see the Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson show. Normally with one of them being the clear-cut number one receiver in one game or the other. But KJ Osborne has done a good job stepping up. I believe he had a long touchdown last week
Correct.
against the Steelers. And then Conklin, once again, is probably going to be someone who's going to see some action tonight. So Roquan Smith, as you mentioned, coming in with that questionable designation, that's going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah.
So it would be big if he could play. We'll see if he's okay. That's going to be an interesting one. But Roquan playing tonight is going to be important because the Bears already missing all of their starters in the secondary, I believe.
Yeah. I mean,
And Khalil Mack, I don't even know how it gets much worse than this. But overall, the Vikings are a solid unit. I do think they have allowed a lot of points in previous games, which is a good sign to look forward to. If you are Chicago, they had allowed a big game to the Steelers last week after getting up 29-0. Detroit put up 29 on them. San Francisco 34. The Chargers put up 20 on them. Green Bay put up 34. So the Bears will have an opportunity here to put up some points and hopefully get some productive offense rolling. But I don't even know what to think about Chicago's defense. I don't have much to say. And normally we'd move into a three key matchups, three keys to the game segment here. But with COVID and everything, I kind of wanted to take it a little bit of a different route. As you mentioned, Parth, there's just such a big effect that this virus that unfortunately is taking over the NFL and the NBA right now. We see stars like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and James Harden all in protocol in the NBA, and the Chicago Bulls just basically had to shut down for a week. And all these games getting postponed, the LA Rams with Odell and Von Miller and everything. And the Bears are one of those teams that have unfortunately been plagued by this. So we'll make our picks after this for this week's game. But overall, taking a look at what we've got coming in tonight and how shorthanded Chicago's going to be, what are you looking to see from them tonight?
I just want to see us be able to move the ball on offense. I feel like this is time for Justin Fields to really, improve against this Vikings defense, who hasn't had the best year so far, and especially with some guys out on COVID, I feel like Fields can excel. I want to see him be able to move the ball down the field, use his legs when he needs to. Um, I think that's the most important thing that Bears fans are watching for at this point is Justin Fields' development and just seeing him get better every week, making throws that are different every week, just elevating his game. And that's exactly what I'm hoping for tonight. I hope Justin Fields has a good game. I hope the Bears can somehow pull it out also. At the end of the day, I would love to beat the Minnesota Vikings. Um, but, this Bears defense definitely has a tough task. I would like to see them, apply that bend don't break method again. Sean Desai, he's had a tough year. Especially, things haven't gone easy. We got lots of guys have been getting hurt. Especially as a first year defensive coordinator, it's not easy. And now you got to deal with 14 starters or something like that out due to COVID. So that's gonna be a tough task for him to get these guys ready to play at least.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I think I'd like to see Chicago move the ball offensively. I'm going to this game tonight, and I think the only reason I'm going is to see Justin Fields once again in person. I think this is another game where Chicago, they're not hampered in the running back room. They will have an opportunity to move the ball on the ground with guys like Damian Williams, David Montgomery, as well as Khalil Herbert. So if Chicago can establish a solid rushing attack, I think I'll be happy with tonight's outcome regardless. Obviously, I want to see Justin have a good game. He's going to be missing Allen Robinson once again in this one. I believe Marquise Goodwin will be back. So the trio at receiver is going to be Mooney, Goodwin, and Zamir Bird, who we saw get into the end zone last week for the first time this season. So it's going to be tough. You're going against a secondary with Patrick Peterson, Cameron Dantzler, Harrison Smith, someone who has caused the Bears some trouble in the past. But
Mhm.
honestly, just let Justin rip it at the end of the day. I believe that's what you got to do. And maybe it's not something I want to see from Chicago, but I can't believe I'm saying this, but my fantasy football playoffs may or may not be riding on the shoulders of Justin Jefferson tonight. So wouldn't mind to see him do a little bit too, but obviously I want Chicago to win. I want Fields to play well, and I think Chicago should still be able to have a solid, productive game offensively. I think one last thing that me and Parth both haven't added that I'd like to see is continued progression from Tevin Jenkins. He got thrown into a tough situation last week. The Bears are going to be missing Jason Peters in this one, so Jenkins is going to get his first career start. He's someone the Bears drafted very high because of his ability to be able to excel, especially in pass protection. So obviously, it's his first NFL start, and I think things are going to be shaky, but seeing continued progression from him throughout these last couple of weeks, especially in tonight's game where he has an opportunity to bounce back, is going to be big in this one. So let's move on to our Week 15 picks. I'm going to keep it with myself here before sending it over to Parth. Originally I was going to pick the Bears in this one. If everyone was healthy, something in my gut was just telling me to pick Chicago, and I was actually going to pick them, I believe, by a score of 28-24. But unfortunately, I'm going to flip the script. With this Bears secondary, I think it's just going to be tough to get stops. I think Chicago has the offensive firepower, even without someone like an Allen Robinson, to be able to hang around in this game and maybe give themselves a chance to win. I just don't think their defense is going to be able to make a stop when they need to down the stretch. So give me the Vikings. I'm going to go 28-21 in this one. I think it's a closer game than a lot of people think, even with all the injuries that Chicago is having. If the Bears defense can come out of the gates, get some stops, maybe put up some points early, I'll like their odds better. But as of right now, taking a look at all of this massive laundry list that Chicago has on the COVID-19 list, I'm going to take Minnesota by one possession in this one. So, Parth, I'm going to pass it to you. It's tough to pick the Bears in this one, even though Minnesota's defense has struggled here for about the last month or so. Who do you have in this Week 15 game?
Yeah, and historically, the Bears have been beating down on the Vikings the last couple of years too. So it's tough to take the Vikings, especially as a Bears fan. But I got to do it. I got the Vikings winning this one, 27-17. Once again, like you said, the COVID list for the Bears is gonna definitely be a big impact, and then lots of injuries on the defensive side too, and just not having Khalil Mack this whole entire year or the last like 5 to 6 weeks has just been super detrimental to this defense. When you lose a leader like that, things are hard to rebound. And as you can see, this Bears defense just hasn't been able to rebound after that. And now you're asking them to take away 10 to 12 starters from your defense as well. And now you got to guard guys like Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, who are the best at their who are one of the best at their positions in the league. It's not a tough. It's not an easy task. The Bears are going to definitely have to come out and score early if they have a chance in this one.
Yeah, they're going to have to put up points early. This is not going to be the type of game where you can get down to the red zone and afford 3 points, just because of how Swiss cheese like, I guess I could say, the Bears defense is right now, just with
Yeah.
all the holes they have all over. No Khalil Mack, no starters in the secondary. The Bears are going to have to put up a plentiful amount of points if they would like to win in this one. Should be a good game regardless. Another chance to see Justin Fields. 14 players on the COVID list for Chicago, including all of their coordinators, except for Sean Desai, I believe, who
He's
got
back.
off the list this morning. But should be an interesting game. COVID is really ruling the world of sports right now, but another opportunity to see the Bears play nonetheless. Thank you guys for listening into our Week 15 pregame show. If you want more from us, head over to our website, beardown.com. If you want to find the podcast on social media, we're probably going to be doing some sort of Christmas jersey giveaway, so you can head over to our pages on Instagram and Twitter at Bear Down to enter those when the giveaways do go live. And finally, you can find the links to all of our social media pages down in the description for myself as well as Parth. It's another great way to interact with us. You can see our thoughts on all things Bears, the NFL, and the entirety of Chicago sports. Parth Shaw, second straight week in prime time. And then the Bears are back on the road next week, heading to Seattle, a team that, of course, after struggling all season, is starting to look better and better again. And I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But any last words before we sign off here?
Yeah, back-to-back weeks on primetime. It's fun getting embarrassed on primetime, I guess. No, but last week against the Packers, I thought we put up a pretty good tough fight in the first half, and then obviously we expected that to happen in the second half. So it's all good. As long as the Bears put up another tough fight, I will not be mad. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's all about the future in Chicago. I think we're looking to continue to see progression from Justin Fields, a solid rushing attack, Tevin Jenkins to play some good football,
Hmm.
maybe the Bears defense to put up an ounce of a fight. And one last thing I'll say is get your cream, get your cream Grant the ball.
Yep.
He needs to get the ball. He needs to get touches. We saw it prosper last week. He's someone that maybe Matt Nagy can actually put to good use for once.
Hmm.
But I'm excited to see Justin Fields tonight. It's probably going to be a cold one. I'll still say it till the day I die. Nothing beats going out on the lakefront to Soldier Field for these games. So it should be a fun one nonetheless. I hope the Bears can put up a good fight. Guys, it's been a pleasure to be your host. Once again, my name is Chris Malpe. And Bears fans, try and stay positive tonight. Stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one, starting some off-season content next week. And that's pretty much it for us. We'll see you later. Peace out.